Hey everybody, and thank you for joining us again in our Mirroring the Sun series. We've got a little bit of a different setting this week. We're finally able to join each other in person to be able to discuss these things this week, and so we want to take advantage of this by talking about something we both find to be rather interesting and that we've spent a lot of time off camera debating, and we want to continue that discussion with you all. And that is this. You're in the grocery store, and you're buying a bag of grapes. Now, you're probably a healthier person than I am because you're buying grapes and not potato chips. But let's say you're buying a bag of grapes, and you are a type of person who must pick your type of grape specifically by their flavor, their taste. And so you try one while you're in the store. You eat a grape beforehand. Is this inherently wrong? And when does it become an issue? Because there are also many people out there who will buy their bag of grapes, and instead of just trying one, they will, like a bag of popcorn, go around the store doing the rest of their shopping while eating those grapes that they will not be paying for. So, is this an issue? Michael, I want to open up the floor to you first, at least with the initial discussion about, is it okay to try a grape before purchasing a bag of grapes? In your mind, or however you'd like to preface or nuance.
Sure, it's really, it is hard for me to say. To me, it's a matter of conscience. I worked at a Walmart for many years as a, I say many years, it was like 2 years, as
some interesting stories as well from that experience.
Exactly right. But I was a customer service manager, so I was someone up at the front end that came and talked to you at the checkout when things were going wrong, and my job was to make you happy. We obviously, being a multinational corporation, Walmart has a specific fund for losses. We understand that, 2 cents here for like 5 grapes eaten, not that big a deal to talk about. Even with returns, if you ever make a return at Walmart, you know that at a certain point, if you don't have a receipt, they ask to see your driver's license. But if it's under $5, they'll hand you cash money and let you walk out because they're like, what's $5 between friends? Now, does that mean that I should steal something and return it to Walmart and say, give me my $5? No, of course that's unethical. We understand that. But the question arises when you start talking about things that are purchased by the pound, especially if you end up buying it. It's one thing if you go in there and you're like, well, I'm going to try a grape from this bag. Oh, those are especially bitter or weird, or maybe the texture's off, like they're a little bit too ripe, they're pretty raisiny. I'm going to go to a different bag. I try 3 bags. I finally say, you know what, I don't want to keep just eating their product. I'm not buying grapes today. Well, that's one thing, because now you haven't purchased anything and you've technically lowered their value by, 0.001 cent or whatever. But then it's something else entirely when you do end up purchasing the product. You've still paid goods and services for this item, but then that begins to open the can of worms of how many grapes is too much, as you said. If 3 grapes isn't too much, as long as I'm just taking 1 from each bag and really not lowering the price of the bag, well, that's all well and good. But if everyone does that with those same 3 bags, eventually it will affect the cost of those grapes. Again, for me, I think that it all comes down to a matter of conscience. I think for me, I don't test my grapes beforehand. I don't buy grapes a lot, like you said, also, and I don't care. If they're sour, I leave them in the fridge a couple weeks longer, and then I eat them. But for some people, my mother, for instance, she's a grape tester. I don't think she does it with ill will. I don't think she's going out of her way to break the law. I don't think she's trying to snuff her nose at the laws of God and man. I think she's just trying to see if she wants those grapes or not, and usually ends up buying them. I think that the problem with this hypothetical situation, and it's not even a hypothetical, I know it happens, I've seen it firsthand, but the problem with this situation is that, again, the matter is the heart of the person. Most people who are testing a grape are not going out of their way to break the law. Again, they're trying to follow the law by paying goods and services, or paying for goods and services at their local grocery store. But then you say, okay, well, that's great for Walmart because they have this loss fund because they're a multinational corporation. They understand there are things that will be damaged or stolen, and they have funds for that. But what about like your local grocer? What about your mom and pop? They grow their own grapes behind their store, and you go in there and eat a grape, and they're a little bit pricier because they're locally grown. Mm-hmm. Well, now we're talking about actually removing cents from the value of this product. What point does it become a problem? And that is, again, I think that's a matter of the heart. I think that's between you and God. I think that is, if you are aware that this is a problem, probably don't do it. Like if you say, I know I'm hurting these people's business, but I don't care. I want to taste a grape first. That's a weird thing to like a hill to die on. But, you know, if you're just like, hey, non-actively thinking about it, it's kind of an out of sight, out of mind thing. I don't, if there's not ill intent, I don't, number one, it's clearly not a salvific issue. But beyond that, I would not say that it is even a sin that you've done necessarily based on the fact that God knows the heart. And now people can purposely do ill will towards God and then say, but God knows my heart. It's okay that I went against the direct command of God. Obviously, we don't have a direct command about grapes. If anything, we have Old Testament scripture to say, hey, leave the edges of your harvest, you know, so that people can glean them for themselves. You know, if anything, we have where we should give our produce out for free sometimes if we're going to go by the standard of the Old Testament. But again, I don't think that grapes are really a big enough issue that we should be too worried about it. But again, it's the slippery slope kind of ideology of, okay, if one grape is okay, why isn't 10 grapes okay? Okay, if eating one grape is fine, why can't I scarf down the whole bag and pay for the 3 that are left?
Right. And that's where, and if you hear some the noises like that, Michael's son is in the room with us. His name is Asher, and he is a blessing to the life of Michael and to us in this video right now. And while I would agree this is not a salvific issue, the question is it the best thing for Christians to do? Because the thing is, you know, you can say, well, it's one thing to do it at Walmart, it's another thing to do it at a mom and pop shop. But of course, if you guys have been paying attention to the news much recently, Walmart's pulling out of places like Chicago and San Francisco because of shoplifting issues. You know, losses in margins because of all these different things, and so there is a lot of issues with this, I think. And the question shouldn't necessarily be what can we do and it be okay, but what is the best thing for us to do as Christians? And I feel like that should be our question. And that's where I would say, if you buy a bag of grapes and they're not your perfect flavor, that should be okay. If we're a Christian, like, that should just be okay. Whereas you said, like, let it sit in the fridge for a couple weeks, or just suck it up, frankly. I mean, if you're wanting grapes, it's okay to take that chance. We as Christians should be willing to sacrifice a little bit for other people and for doing the right thing. And I think this is where, if we are going to be in a place like that, where we are going to look to buy a bag of grapes, instead of us trying to necessarily always be in the gray area, that's just where I would just go, hey, let me just not take this grape. Let me just accept the consequences that come from it, and either A, don't buy a bag of grapes, or B, if I do buy it, just accept it how it is, deal with it, and be okay with that. So that way I'm not necessarily in that issue either way.
Exactly right. You said let's stay out of the gray area. The gray area is where I like to camp out most myself.
Yes,
I'm just kidding. But it is. You're absolutely right. You know, when we, I think that it's an issue that we have as an example because it is, again, something that actually happens. And I think it's something that actually happens, number one, because of maybe, again, it's just a cultural overtime. Maybe at one time grapes weren't sold by the pound. I don't know. But it's become so commonplace, you know, when everyone has, you know, diphtheria, no one has diphtheria. You know what I'm saying? When everybody has a disease, nobody has a disease. Right. You know, essentially becomes the mindset, because it's like, well, we already all got it.
So and in the same way, everybody's going to be eating the grapes.
Right, exactly. So, and that's the mentality, I think, for a lot of people is, well, everyone does it, so that makes it okay. Mm-hmm. And you know, the thoughts of the group don't inherently make something righteous. And I would also say that it's also a convenience thing, right? I can eat a grape. Dude, you got to calm down over there. You're making a little too much noise for my friend. When it comes to a convenience thing, right? It's convenient to pull one grape, zip it back. It looks no different from the outside looking in. But if I were to do that with like breakfast cereal, if I went down the breakfast cereal aisle and said, well, I'm only taking one Cinnamon Toast Crunch, that in no way affects the price of
But
it.
you have violated the box.
You violated the
Absolutely.
Cinnamon Toasties.
I ain't buying that. You ain't, I'm sure you ain't buying it either. You are not buying a box of cereal that's already been opened in the store. Am I right? You aren't. Are you?
Did I open it? If I opened it, I'll probably buy it after
I
the
hope
fact.
you would, right? But I'm
Probably
saying
so.
you watching, I'm sure if you had your choice and you're going down the cereal aisle and there was a box that's already open, you ain't buying it.
Correct.
Yeah. So there you go. Well, I think this has been an interesting conversation. I hope this triggers some conversation in your own life as well. You're also welcome to join in this conversation in the comments down below. You're always welcome to be a part of that. And of course, if you thought this conversation was interesting, you want to share it with your friends, you're welcome to do that as well. Like the video and follow our different content that we're doing. I want to thank you, Michael, again for this episode and having this conversation with me.
And if there's anything within the gray area, as it were, any kind of situation that's not necessarily a faith issue, but more so just a situation that we might run into in our lives, you can drop that down below as well, and we'll try to discuss all of those things that we're able to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you guys have those kind of questions, we'd love to discuss those as well. So thank you guys, and we'll see y'all next time. Asher says goodbye as well.
Dude, you gotta hush, bro. You were doing good at the beginning, and then you don't shut your dirty mouth.
I'm leaving that in.
Oh, it's 'cause